All right, we should be live. Yeah, we're good. My mic's picking up. Everything's good. Everything's fine. All right. Welcome to the discussion stream. There is no thumbnail. I forgot to put a thumbnail because I've been rushing because my computer was having errors at the last minute. But we're good for now. We're good. And honestly, I'm glad this actually worked because if I haven't streamed in a while. What's up, Big Play Slay? How you doing? How's your day been? But I'm happy. I'm back. I haven't streamed in a while. I'm usually on everybody else's stream, so it feels nice to kind of get back into a rhythm that's not a video. Because I'm so used to videos, it's self-explanatory. But if you're a YouTuber, you know, Big Play Slay, I bet you know how it feels to go from stream to video. But I think I'm going to get right into the talk. There has been an announcement of alliance in college football. The ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 are now having an alliance. It became official today, but it's been rumored on for weeks. So we all saw this coming. It wasn't out of nowhere, like the move of Oklahoma and Texas. So I'm kind of happy that it wasn't out of nowhere because I could gather thoughts on it. But I'm reading up on it now through an ESPN article because I haven't seen much. What's up, BLSG? Welcome to the stream. Glad you came in to show some support. Yeah, I know you had Etienne in our armchair league, our content creator league. Sad thing is James Robinson just got traded and he's going to be the starting back. So he got moved for Henry, which I kind of find funny. But yeah, it sucks that he went down. But yeah, Coleman's a good pickup off the waiver wire. I thought somebody would have got him by now. I mean, he wasn't great. I wouldn't have taken him over a guy like Kenyon Drake, who right now is my bench back. But he's still a very good pickup, especially losing Etienne for the year. He might be good in New York, depending on how the team around him does, because he's going to... I don't know. Is he the starting back? I think he's a starting back, from what I remember. I may be wrong. But there's a scheduling alliance now. And it is... And here is a quote from Pac-12 Commissioner George Klavkov, which I thought I would say that wrong, but I actually didn't. Quote, the historic alliance announced today between the Pac-12, ACC, and Big Ten is grounded in the commitment to our student athletes. One thing is, the Big 12's not here. The Big 12 got excluded. Yeah. I wanted to go James Robinson the same round AK got him, but if AK hadn't gotten him, he wouldn't have been on the move for Derrick Henry, and I would have staked claim to him like I did in most of my other leagues. That pickup looks a lot better for whoever has him in a league. But yeah, that I think now a lot of people are going to gravitate towards picking him, though. That's the only thing. That's why I drafted Josh Allen in the first round in the PSN draft, or in the, well, that one too. But Hawkinson, yeah, I took Hawkinson. That was on me. I took Hawkinson. I think he was like the first, he was one of the first 3 to 5 tight ends off the board. I'm glad I got him. I'm very glad I got him because I was originally going to stack up with Cole Kmet, who Bird Gang took and won't give me. And who was the other tight end I got? Everett's who I was trying to trade for Kmet. And then there's somebody else. I forget who it is. I'd have to look, but I'm glad I locked down Hawkinson because last time I tried to get him, he wasn't there. Hey, man, it's an eye for an eye. I wanted Cole Kmet. Bird Gang snatched up Cole Kmet. So, At least I wasn't the one who took Diggs. And who was it? It wasn't Julio, I don't think. That was his first name, but I wasn't one of the two who drafted right before you and drafted both the receivers you wanted. Yeah, that's a solid tight end group. I like that tight end group. You got to hope Irv Smith does a little bit more than he's projected to do, but I like that tight end group. Jarwin, it depends on how the Cowboys sway. If they want to do Schultz or Jarwin, but still good pickups. Yeah, you got Hopkins, dude. I was like, either way, I was like, I don't want anybody to take Stephon Diggs because I wanted to lock him up with Josh Allen, but I couldn't. I should have known he would have been off the board by then. Because I love, every year, I always have a couple of drafts where I match up the quarterback with the star receiver because I know how well that'll end. And sometimes it screws me over. AJ Green. But hey, I didn't draft AJ Green this year or Joe Mixon, so hopefully neither of them get injured. Because last time I drafted them, both of them were hurt. Same thing with Michael Thomas. So, somebody's going to get hurt on my team bad this year. I know it. Every year, there's one guy that gets hurt bad. It would probably end up being Josh Allen, because I'm not that lucky. It says I overdrafted on him, too. But yeah, news broke earlier this month on the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC alliance. And I drifted. This is how easy I drift off. I drifted off into left field for the first 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes of the stream to fantasy football. I mean, I love doing it, but still, I drifted off. But I will say this. I will talk fantasy football all day. I think I may have to have a separate stream within the next couple of days for that, just to talk fantasy football. Because I will talk fantasy football all day. But apparently the word is that the Pac-12 is the leading force in this alliance. That worries me a little bit because what if it comes down to the Pac-12 doesn't need everybody else? Then they can just say, okay, bye. Okay, bye. We don't need you anymore. Then the whole thing will probably break up. But it's looking like the gist of the alliance is just going to be a collaboration between schedules and everything and close kind of between the teams. And they just left the Big 12 out. They just said, you know what, we don't need you. And as long as the Big 12 doesn't separate, they're just going to be on the sidelines going, well, you left us out. Why? And the Big 12 won't separate. They're not going to pull anybody. They're not going to pull a big hitter out of nowhere because they can't really get anybody right now. And Notre Dame's out of the question. I will talk about that a little bit later. But no, you can't. They're not going to pull anybody big. So now at this point, they've just got to hope and stay together until they can probably scrounge up another two teams. I don't know. I really don't. This could be a knockout blow to the Big 12, depending on what they do next. Or it could lead up to a knockout blow. I don't know. But, hey, Notre Dame's not in the Big 12. I'm happy. Everyone's saying Notre Dame's got to pick up and move. They can just sit by and watch and laugh. They can just sit by. Yeah, I saw the catch, and then I also saw how he almost got hurt, or did get hurt, and then came back. I saw that worried us, a lot of us, because our fantasy football league has a group chat, our content creator one, and everyone was going kind of crazy. And I said, well, I wasn't even in the conversation, but I was like, well, just watch, he'll come back. He came back. But it's looking like in this whole scheduling alliance, it's just that, a scheduling alliance. I don't know exactly what the rest of it's going to entail, but that's for time to tell. They haven't really said super much on it. I'm expecting them to show more than they say. So at this point, this is going to be more of a show, not tell thing, I think. You're not in the group chat. We got to get you added if you're not in there. I was going to say, you might have to shoot Mitch a message and he'll get you in if you're not already in. Because I think that, because Mitch leads the thing. I think that might be a Mitch thing. But, yeah, a lot of it ties into scheduling. And here's my thing. These are 3 Power 5 conferences. What are you thinking to accomplish? Oh, we're having a scheduling alliance. Are you targeting the SEC? Are you screwing over the G5 conferences? What's going on? If you're scheduling, or if you're screwing the lower conferences, then that's a mistake, because there's already a gap enough. Why do you need to make it bigger? And then the other thing that I'm kind of sketch about is, well, they didn't include the Big 12. What does that mean for the Big 12? But only time will tell. Yeah, man, you're gonna have to sort that out with Mitch, because I don't own the chat, so I don't know if I can invite you or not. I don't know. So I think that's something you got to contact Mitch about. Oh, I didn't mean to show that again. But the Big Ten and Pac-12 announced a scheduling agreement in 2011. It was set to begin in 20. So what I'm reading through here is the Big Ten and Pac-12 originally were supposed to have a scheduling alliance and never did, and now they have a scheduling alliance. So who knows? This could fall through. If that one fell through. So it's looking like this is probably not going to come into effect really for a couple of years. Hey, what's up, Philly Insider Podcast? How you doing? How's your day? But it looks like this isn't going to be an immediate effect in terms of the college football landscape or anything, but it's definitely going to have at least it's going to have something, or a small effect in the short term. That is no doubt. Unless it falls through. It could fall through. You never know. I mean, the Pac-12 Big Ten scheduling alliance fell through a decade ago. You never know. But with the Pac-12 pushing, I don't know. This could go one of many ways. Doing good. That's good to hear. I'm doing all right. I can't complain, really. Thoughts on Chris Tyree? Oh, that's a good one. He's someone I've had some. I really like him as a back. He's been being used as a returner, which I'd rather have him returning than Lawrence Keys, who fumbles the ball constantly on returns. Because, why be a returner if you can't hold on to the ball? But I have a lot of confidence in him. He's not Kyron Williams, but he's close, and they both have the same amount of eligibility left. So this is going to be a 1-2 punch for a couple years to come, and I can't wait to see what happens to both Chris Tyree and Kyron Williams, especially with their development, because Notre Dame, to me, seems to be good at developing. So it's going to be interesting if they can develop this year, especially those guys. Big place. Let's go, Auburn. Well, it's not Michigan. I'll say that. I was going to say, there's a Michigan fan that may overhear me that heard me say that. I don't know. I may yell it out my door just to make sure. Yeah, he definitely has been good so far. He was of high demand coming out of high school, but so are Notre Dame's backs coming into this year. The true freshmen of S-Team, and his name's escaping me right now, but they've got 2 freshmen coming in that were of high demand too, that I think may get the red shirt this year. One of the 2. It may be S-Team, but it depends. I think it'll be S-Team. I think that would be the better idea right now. But yeah, they're definitely a great pairing. I like the pairing because they're not necessarily the same back, but they're not on opposite ends of the spectrum either. They have a little bit in common, which is nice. Not only that, you wouldn't have Kyron taking kicks. And I think you could, but you wouldn't see him taking kicks like Tyree does. And Tyree's not blazing fast, but he's kind of elusive sometimes. I like both as backs, and they definitely have a bright future ahead of them. But yeah, that's basically it on the scheduling alliance. There's not much in concrete right now. It's definitely going to be more of a show not tell kind of thing, I'd say. But it all depends on if it holds up. Yeah. Hey. I mean, they'll take it, right? Young team. Although you got to worry about the buzzsaws of the big schools too, because they're always consistent. Like a Gonzaga has had consistency for a decent amount of time at least. Duke's always a powerhouse. As much as I hate Duke, because that's one thing I have say I will say I have picked up being a New Yorker. I hate Duke. There's only two things that I've picked up from being a New Yorker. I'm a Rangers fan and I hate Duke. That's it. Everything else I'm anti New York in terms of sports, but those are two things I have picked up on and never have left. But yeah, there's definitely some young guys there, especially on that Auburn football team. And yeah, this will be the year for Nix. This will be a big year for him. Just like it's going to be a big year for a couple different quarterbacks in the league. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do, because I've kind of had an eye on Nix. And that has been a little bit of his problem, is consistency. And then I wanted to cover the AP top 25. I already covered the AP top 25. Yeah, and both are great contributing backs. And when Kyron stepped up, that was his spot, and you knew it was his spot. But Tyree's a very good complimenting back, and you haven't really seen him say anything, so. Yes. I would love to land Hamilton. I wanted to land Owusu Koromoa, but I would love to land Hamilton. He's a great safety. And he's been consistent through years. So he also played alongside a guy named Sean Crawford who jumped from safety to corner. So he can work with a little bit of inconsistency next to him. So if we can land him next year, dude, I would be happy. That would be the one Notre Dame pick I'd take. The rest I'd be like, you know what? We don't need him. But yeah, Hamilton is a great guy. I really want him. I really want him bad. And he's someone that I can't wait to have in the NFL, because in my eyes, he's a Owusu Koromoa, except in one position. And that's in terms of a talent level, because he's very good. And I would love to land him, because he could fill in for McLeod and be the future at safety. We wouldn't have to worry about safety besides getting a couple depth guys for years. That's a position I'd love to lock down, just like I'd love to lock down D-line. And we have 2, potentially 3 if Carson plays picks next year. I would love to land Hamilton and still be able to get maybe someone to shore up the defensive line in another corner. That would be great, because this year they've preached it's a defensive draft. And depending on early draft guys and everything, it's definitely going to be who enters this year. But I think this may be another year where the first round's kind of quarterbacks. At least the first few picks are going to be quarterbacks, like a Howell. So I think that gives us a good chance to get Hamilton if we really landed in the top 10. Whether that be through our own pick, whether that be through the Dolphins pick, whether that's somehow through the Colts pick, I would love it. That'd be great. Yeah, Kayvon, he's gotten a lot of praise, but I want to see it. I like where he's said to be able to go to in terms of potential, but I want to see what he can do. And yeah, you definitely do need one more guy, because McLeod's the only thing holding that safety rotation together. because nobody else, unless Harris or Adams steps up, and I don't think Adams will be that guy. He's the only thing there, and he's coming off he's coming off a torn ACL. And that's what worries me about Rodney, because he's one of my favorite Eagles, but his time here could be soon to over because of that ACL. I mean, we've seen guys come back from worse, but we've also seen guys struggle with less. Yeah, they are all entering free agency. I can see Howie potentially trying to keep McLeod around for a little bit longer. But who's the last guy we've really had that's been brought here and developed was probably B-Doc. And that was over a decade ago. So it'd be nice to just have another star safety developed in Philadelphia for Philadelphia again, because we haven't really had that in a while. I would like that, because then it takes, especially with the new scheming, Hamilton's not necessarily versatile, but I think he can be moved around slightly. I definitely think that's possible. You're not going to be seeing him in the box, but I think there's potential you can maybe move him around a little bit, or maybe develop him to where you can move him a little bit more. That could be something that Philly's interested in. But yeah, I don't see Hamilton being that guy either. And I don't know about Harris, because I don't see where he fits necessarily in the long term. I don't think he's going to be the guy. Like I said, I can see good development from guys like Kayvon and Riley, and if Marcus Epps backs away from the edge of the cliff, maybe even him, but the best I think they can all become is depth. Kayvon, best case scenario, could be a starter. We do need that starter, like you said, and I think Hamilton, if we brought him in, could be the guy. And I'd like that, because if we drafted a Notre Dame guy for once, I'd be happy. I called for Javon McKinley, didn't happen. I called for Skoranek, didn't happen. I called for Fink, didn't happen. I called for Owusu Koramoah. I called for a couple guys last year, and it didn't happen. But that I'd be happy with one Notre Dame guy here, because who's the last Notre Dame guy we've had? Josh Adams. We don't really have a good track record with guys from Notre Dame, so I want to see that change. And then the one before him was what's his name? From the defensive end who we picked in the first round back in 07, 08, maybe 09, around then. I think it was 09, 10 actually, but we don't have the greatest track record. Yeah, he's a short-term guy, but I don't see him being long-term, especially here. And like you said, Gannon may be someone who leaves sooner rather than later. So it all depends. Because the future is bright for this team, but the future also has a lot of questions for this team. Yeah, I did too. Adams was a great player coming out of Notre Dame. I think he underachieved in the NFL, but he also was never in a great situation in Philly, and then to the Jets, where, the Jets is turning into what the Browns were in 2016-17 as basically purgatory for a lot of players. So I wish he had gotten more of a chance, because I think he could have been at least a good depth carrier, or maybe even a fringe starter guy, someone who worked well in a rotation. I think that, because he did work well at times in Philly as a rotational guy. So I think I would have loved him to stay longer, but it just never materialized, and it sucks. For the rest of his career, he's going to be a journey guy, I think. A journeyman for the rest of his career, and I think his time in the league is going to be short for the rest. I think he'll only last a couple more years. But all in all, this is Philly's year to load up on the defense, I will say, because we do need futures at certain spots. We need futures at defensive line. We needed a corner. We've kind of got it at linebacker, and we've got depth at safety. We just need that future guy the one who will be the guy. So this will definitely test Howie this year with the draft, with how he decides to build, because he's going to want to build from the trenches, but he did that last year. So now this is going to be more of the year of build from outside the trenches, which I think you'll see a lot more of, taking guys like defensive backs. I mean, we called for Tay Gowan last year for like 2 rounds and Howie never picked him. But I think this year will definitely be a year to kind of develop and then look at what you have and probably grab a lot of guys that aren't in the trenches now, which I'll be glad to do. I mean, yeah, you'll pick a guy here and there, but all in all, I wouldn't be mad going into the trenches for defense. We need a future Fletcher Cox. We need someone to be that guy, or even just a Brandon Graham for now, someone to be that guy. You can get it in the first, maybe even the second round. Do it. I was going to say, that was a lot of talk. Yeah, we did have Trevor Lawrence. I forget about him sometimes. We don't have a great record with Notre Dame, and that's the thing is I'm always saying go for this guy, and they're going for this guy. And there's different guys I think we should have gone for certain years, and some guys we kind of shouldn't have. Like, I liked Adams, but he didn't land right here. And then this year, I think we could have worked well with someone like a Ben Skoranek, who was a Notre Dame guy for a year. He was a big body guy. I really wanted him here because everyone hates J-Jaw. Everyone thinks J-Jaw shouldn't make the roster. I was like, well, then why don't we bring in Ben Skoranek, who's like J-Jaw, but in a way on steroids. And, I mean, he did good in college. He really did good. I think he landed in the Rams he was drafted 7th, but he was still a very good pick for them because if used right, he's great. He's not necessarily going to be a number 1 guy in the future, but you use him as a rotational piece for the red zone or big game situations where you just need a jump ball. He's your guy. He's really your guy. And I mean, everyone likes to shoot at J-Jaw, shoot shots and say he hasn't shown up, but he hasn't gotten chances. And I thought, well, this could be your chance to get a big body receiver that can potentially perform in the future. But that's just me. But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting year in the draft because there's so much we can do. There is so much we can do. Although my only problem about next year is don't draft a bunch of Bama guys. Yeah, Tay Gowan did look kind of good. He was a UCF guy who dropped in the draft, and honestly, I was hoping would land here. Am I confident in Jack Cohen? Yes. I would have liked to see a little bit of Pine in some games. I hope to see some of Pine in games. Brendan Clark, I don't know what's going on with him, but Jack Cohen ultimately is the starter. He's the most experienced. I'm confident because a lot of what I'm hearing from insiders and all that is he's consistent, he's accurate, and he's got the experience. It's going to be a big change going from Ian Book to Jack Cohen as a fan, and it will definitely be as the team. And Tommy Rees is going to have to change his scheming a little bit, well, a decent amount, because you're not going to roll Jack Cohen out nearly as much as you did Ian Book. But I like Jack Cohen, and it all depends on how Tommy Rees schemes, and he's a former Notre Dame quarterback, and he's the quarterback's coach, so he works very closely with them, so I have confidence he can do that. Also, the quarterback room bullied Tommy Rees into growing a mustache. That was funny, I will say. I brought that up on my last podcast, and I was kind of laughing about that. And then thoughts on Michael Mayer. He is what they call him, a mini Gronk, except he's very good. He's very good. I really like him as a tight end. He's filling in where he actually took over kind of for Brock Wright. Brock Wright, I feel after last year kind of lost the spotlight and fell to the third tight end. I didn't expect to see that because he was a very long tenured guy. And then Tommy Tremble turned into your blocking guy, who I wanted him in Philly too because he could have been your next Goddard because he could catch. But dude, he's like Claypool, where he looks for the blocks, he looks for the contact, and he loves the contact because he knows he'll bowl over certain guys, certain DBs, and he has fun with it. But I really wish we could have gotten him too. I wish he would have fell a little bit lower. I thought he got picked a little high. But Michael Mayer, he's a great tight end. I think once it's his time to get his name called in the draft, he's going to be very high. I think he'll be first 3 rounds as of right now, unless something changes. But if he continues to get better and better, I think that first 3 round prediction jumps to a first 2 rounds. And tight ends don't go that high. So that's like the highest you're probably going to get out of me in terms of his projection. But I like him as a tight end. He's dominant in the passing game. He can block. He's got size. So I'm excited. And yeah, the Saints went from getting laughed at for picking him in the 4th. Even I had him projected a round lower to now they're taking calls for him. That tells me they're very confident in Winston and or Hill. I don't think you should be. I think you should keep Book because, well, I mean, why would you draft Book and then, oh yeah, now we're confident in Jameis Winston, who got laser eye surgery because that was affecting his game so bad. And then you've got Taysom Hill, who I think is a glorified gadget guy. He's never going to be a scrambling quarterback like they want him to be. Can he run? Yeah. He's not a Michael Vick. He's not electric. He's also not a Michael Vick in terms of he's killer fast. He's big, but he's not huge. And he can throw, but he's not going to make you go ooh and ah with his throws. He's not going to put him in super tight windows. He's not going to throw it 60 yards downfield a lot. So I think Hill's just glorified as a quarterback, and they really need to stick with Book for now because he could potentially be their future, at least short term. Yeah, thanks for jumping in. I love talking any Notre Dame or football in general. We got to hook up for a collab one of these times. So if you're still here, hit me up one of these days, and we can definitely do a collab, whether that be on your channel or my channel or what. But yeah, it was great talking, man. See you later. And then I want to touch on this quick too. Yeah, Tremble's a good tight end. I like Tremble, and I'll be the first to tell you he shouldn't have been he should have been sharing with Mayer in terms of stuff. In terms of snaps, he kind of did and he kind of didn't. He shouldn't. At first, I thought, well, he shouldn't be above Brock Wright, who was the one tight end, or he was kind of the one tight end in a climate that I thought would step up, but didn't, which is why he went undrafted. But I will say Tremble was a great blocker. He was a good catcher. He wasn't great. He's not super great at catching necessarily. I think you've got to kind of teach that. He's kind of in the same boat as a Dallas Goedert, except he's just not where he was in terms of talent. He's still a great tight end. He was one of the first, I want to say 5 to 7 tight ends off the board. And that'll tell you something, because tight ends were very sparse this year on the board. There wasn't very many that got picked in the first few rounds. But yeah, man, if you like the idea of doing a stream together, just let me know. We can do it on either channel, and definitely got to hook up for that, because I'd love to do that, especially someone like yourself. But well, the team. So I'm gonna pull this for another 15 and then go. But dude, our group chat's going off right now. Well, it was earlier. But now it's kind of quieted down, which is why my phone isn't going off nearly as much as it was earlier. Thankfully. I just had to check this quick. But you suggested we all go live for the game. That I might actually go live for the Philly game this week. I might, especially it being third preseason. But All right, so let me find my All-Americans. I was going to say I pulled it off Twitter somewhere. So your AP All-American first team is at quarterback Oklahoma Spencer Rattler, running back Iowa State's Breece Hall, and Texas's Bijan Robinson. At tackle, you've got Bama's Evan Neal and A&M's Kenyon Green. At guard, you've got Notre Dame's Caden Madden, who was a transfer, and Boston College's Zion Johnson. At center, you've got Iowa's Tyler Linderbaum. At tight end, you've got Iowa State's Charlie Kolar. And at receiver, you've got Ohio State's Chris Olave and Clemson's Justin Ross. At AP, you've got Notre Dame's Kyron Williams. And kicker, you've got Missouri's Katie York. On defense, at defensive end, you've got Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeau and A&M's DeMarvin Leal. At defensive tackle, you've got Ohio State's Haskell Garrett and Clemson's Brian Brees. At linebacker, you've got Bama's Will Anderson Jr., Oklahoma's Nick Bonito, and Iowa State's Mike Rose. At corner, you've got Missouri's Derek Stingley Jr. and Clemson's Ahmad Gardner. At safety, you've got Notre Dame's Kyle Hamilton and Northwestern's Brandon Joseph. And at punter, you've got Georgia's Jake Camarda. So, the team, I like it. I really thought I was going to see, when I first looked at this, I didn't think I'd see Spencer Rattler. I thought I'd see, what's his name, from North Carolina. I lost it. I had it and I lost it. I talked about him earlier. Oh, what's his name? Okay, now I gotta look this up because that'll bother me all day if I don't check this. But I saw him at 1 because, or as the quarterback because, I'm like that. I immediately went to North Carolina. Or I immediately went to their quarterback. Sam Howell. I immediately thought it would be Sam Howell for some reason. Why? I don't necessarily know. But I really thought it was going to be him. Running back, all right, with Holland Robinson. I don't know about Robinson, but hey, he's there. The O-line I'm not surprised by, especially with a Bama guy up there, although Bama's only got, a couple guys up here compared to normal? They've only got a couple as the first and second team. Receiver, I'm not surprised by Ross and Olave. I saw that one coming. I didn't know Will or Kyron was going to be on this list as an All-American, but I welcome it. Defensive end, it's not surprising with Thibodeau and Leal. They're both great edge rushers, or defensive ends, not edge rushers. Same thing with defensive tackle, no surprises there. Linebacker, didn't necessarily think Mike Rose was going to be there, but he's there. Cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr., not surprising. Kind of thought Storm Duck was going to be on there alongside him. That would have been funny. Stingley Jr. and Duck. I will say Storm Duck is one of the funniest names. Although, I will say it is more funny than Kool-Aid McKinley, who got a sponsorship from Kool-Aid. Safety, Kyle Hamilton and Brandon Joseph. No surprises there. Hamilton, 100% I expected to land there. And then, punter, don't got much to say. They could have picked a lot of different guys. So be it. Missed opportunity for Dewar at kicker. I didn't say it. Who said that? Yuck. Who said that? Wasn't me. But, hey, I'll take it. And so, I said I'd carry this 10 minutes. I'm just going to carry it to now. I'm just going to bounce. I've kind of talked about what I wanted to talk about. So, thanks to everyone who stopped in. Philly Insider Podcast. I'm assuming it was Hunter. And then to Big Play Slay, who dropped in earlier. Thank you guys for stopping by. And thanks for watching, whoever's watching the playback. And you know who I am. I will see you either in the week with news or Monday, because I actually won't be able to post a podcast during the weekend. It will have to be pushed back to Monday. But I will see you then.